our strategy was to figure out if it sells before you start building a company around it.
Welcome to Honest E-commerce, where we're dedicated to cutting through the BS and finding actionable advice for online store owners. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and I believe running an online business does not have to be complicated or a guessing game. If you're struggling with scaling your sales, Electric Eye is here to help. To apply to work with us, visit electriceye.io/connect to learn more. Now let's get on with the show. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Honest E-commerce. Today, I'm coming to you with another founder's story, plural. Now I've got two founders on the podcast today. Today, I'm welcoming to the show the co-founders of Mad Rabbit, Selom and Oliver. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you, Chase.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So, you guys are graduates of Miami University's Farmer School of Business. Is that where you met?
Correct. Yeah, we met there our second semester freshman year. So yeah, that's where we graduated.
And instead of going to parties, you guys founded an e-com business.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, let's be clear. We founded it our senior year. So we had a few fun years before.
Awesome. So where did the idea come from? I'm very curious about this.
Yeah. So it originally started. So throughout college, I was doing some side consulting for a few startup e-commerce companies, one of them being an apothecary. So I was at their warehouse, kind of looking at a bunch of ingredients, kind of learning more about the space and cosmetics and things like that. But what I was consulting for, I was in charge of kind of expanding their product lines and kind of opening up new markets for them. One of the products I stumbled upon and the markets I stumbled upon was the tattoo market. They actually had a tattoo soap already formulated, and they just weren't very interested in running with that market. It was kind of contrary to their witch and Wiccan style a brand that they currently had. And it just got me interested enough to start doing research in that market. We noticed it was definitely underserved. So I think a great story to kind of testament to that. If you ask anyone what they treated their tattoo with after they get a tattoo, I bet you a lot of them would say petroleum jelly or Aquaphor, which is fine, but they're not specifically formulated for tattoos. There are certain chemicals in it that are actually not good for the tattoo healing process. And we realized that there's a really great market opportunity for tattoo products that were specifically formulated to help people take care of them over the long term.
You might be talking to probably one of the only podcast hosts in this whole ecosystem that knows more about tattoos than you, I'd guess. I worked at a shop for 5 years. I know all about the products. I know about all the nonsense that people use to take care of it for aftercare. And I checked out your guys' product, and I am a believer. I will say that. But yeah, you can't be any more right. Aquaphor and petroleum jelly are probably not the best things to use.
Right.
So I should have done this earlier, by the way. Explain Mad Rabbit and kind of what your product is that you guys are offering.
Totally. Yeah. So we currently are a one product store. We started off with what we call our Mad Rabbit Original Tattoo Balm. So it's a mixture of 7 all natural ingredients, things like shea butter, cocoa butter, 2 scents, which are frankincense and lavender, and a couple other kind of more secret all natural ingredients that also have specific benefits. So our goal was to make taking care of people's tattoos much easier, kind of get people in the routine of it, and to formulate products that are only all natural and just simple to use.
Absolutely. So way back when you guys met in college and then you guys decided to kind of launch this business together, in your senior year, what made you guys decide to go into business together? I guess what should people be looking for in a co-founder or a partner?
So I guess when we met, it was our second semester freshman year. I guess we kind of clicked because we were both people who were like hardworking and looking for ways to, I guess, move forward in life. And also we weren't people who were complacent. We were always looking for the next thing to make ourselves better. Whereas like when people went to college to just focus on their majors, get a full-time job and graduate, we were kind of looking for something else to fulfill time. And that's when we started looking into e-commerce. So our first business together was a women's swimsuit company. So we would drop ship women's swimsuits from China. And that lasted for a few months. And we ended up selling that business for a little profit. So it was a modest profit. So that's when we knew that we were good, I guess, business partners. So after we sold that, we started experimenting with other niches in the, I guess, e-commerce industry. So we experimented with sleepwear, watches, handbags, and those weren't really the markets we wanted to focus on. And then Oliver came to me with the idea of the tattoo balm. So he had originally texted me sometime in like October, November timeframe, asking if I wanted to start a tattoo after company. And I had originally said no because I didn't have tattoos and I didn't know much about the industry. All I knew was that tattoos look cool. So like for that first week, I kind of ignored him and said no. And then he kept pressing. So I was like, all right, I'll do some research, did some research and saw that there were other brands out there in the tattoo aftercare space, but they weren't doing a good job relating to the customers or putting out effective marketing materials to teach the customers about tattoo aftercare to draw them to the brand to end up purchasing. We saw that as a weakness, and that's something that I was like, all right, let's jump on it. So then my next question was, okay, what ingredients are we going to pick? How are we going to cook this? Like, what are the logistics of this? But luckily, Oliver's mother had years of apothecary experience in her background. So she helped us pick our initial first 7 ingredients, which was shea butter, cocoa butter, beeswax, calendula oil, sweet almond oil, lavender, and frankincense. I think that's 7. So with those first 7, we would order them from local stores, or sometimes if the local stores would take too long to ship to Oliver's college apartment, we would Amazon Prime them. And luckily, a lot of these ingredients were on Amazon. So we'd order the ingredients, we'd order mailer bags, stickers, and the tins, all from different websites. And then multiple times a week, we would skip class or like not go to social events just to cook these balms. And we were cooking about 500 to 1,000 units every single week. So it was a lot of work. So this was around the January to, I guess, graduation time from her. We were just like cooking. And then luckily we got a $7,000 loan in which we used to put in our first manufacturing order of 3,000 units. So from that point on, we stopped cooking, which was nice. So the manufacturer would ship half the units to his house, half the units to my house. And we'd ship orders that way. But then it was still a lot of work. And we wanted to automate it as much as possible. So we made it our goal that summer to find a distribution center. And we ended up finding one in Idaho, which is called Dollar Fulfillment. And they've been fulfilling our orders for us to date. But yeah, that's the background story of how I guess we launched the business.
Awesome. So I guess I got a lot of questions for you guys, and I think these are going to be the same questions that all of our listeners are going to have. So first is, what was kind of the first initial marketing strategy that caught on that helped you start to move these units?
Well, so like the way we tested the proof of concept is we used Facebook advertising, and we start off with traffic ads. So we'd make a bunch of different Instagram story, Instagram feed, Facebook feed creatives, and just keep testing to see, okay, which of these images draws people to the website for the cheapest amount of clicks. So once we figured out, okay, this picture is going to draw people to the website, then we figured out, okay, are we going to put a discount onto the creative to make people want to purchase, or are we going to do a buy one, get one free, or no discount at all?
Before you get any further in that, I just want to make sure that everyone listening kind of knows that that's also a very important part of kind of choosing the market you want to go into for e-commerce. Testing these traffic ads and things like that on Facebook and seeing how the product will sell. That's really an important step that we took even before we really started, handling things like production and things like that. Because our strategy was to figure out if it sells before you start building a company around it. Carry on.
So yeah, those are the 3 concepts. It was discount code, buy one, get one free, or no discount. So then obviously we saw people love discounts. So that's going to draw them to the website. And also people love buy one, get one free. So obviously those 2 end up working better than the no discount at all. So we used the discount and the buy one, get one free as conversion ads to draw people to the website who are more likely to purchase. And then we still used the, I guess, creative with no sort of discount on it, because we knew that if we had a pop-up on the website, it would still draw people to the website, but those people wouldn't purchase. But then they would put their email in the pop-up. So then we use all 3 to our advantage. So that way, even if people don't end up purchasing from our ads, we would just send them an email later on, and then they end up buying from us.
Want to get each new episode of Honest E-Commerce sent straight to your phone? Join our VIP texting list for updates on new episodes and exclusive deals from our partners. Text Honest VIP, that's HONEST VIP, to 72599 to join. By the way, we're powering our text messages with Postscript, the #1 text message marketing app for Shopify stores. Check out the show notes for a link to install Postscript for free today. So you guys were testing this before you kind of went all in on it. I guess what were you looking for with those first rounds of tests, and seeing if you could get cheap traffic on Facebook, which nowadays Facebook is pretty expensive. It's a very mature platform, and I guess putting all your eggs in that basket is a risky business maneuver. What were kind of some of the signs you were looking for that you had a winning product and you had a good market that you were advertising to?
So the 3 metrics that I looked to make sure like an ad was doing really well was first, which one was bringing people to the website for the cheapest amount of clicks, which ads were bringing people to add to cart for the cheapest rate, and then ads that were bringing people to purchase for the cheapest rate. So all those 3 metrics, and also testing a variety of audiences. So testing different, sports, different teams, different tattoo interest. So then we probably tested about 50 interests, and then we narrowed it down to about 10. So out of that 10, we use 5 of them still today just to reach out to our customers, and they've been doing really, really well for us.
Awesome. Can I ask, how long were you guys doing this initial testing phase for?
This testing phase was probably from November to December 2018, because we officially launched in January 2019. So that testing phase was a couple months, and it was profitable, but we didn't want to go full scale because we obviously are a company that didn't start with any outside VC funding. So we had to make sure everything was 100% correct before we threw all our eggs into one basket.
Gotcha. And then would you be able to share with us kind of like what sort of investments you were making into, testing the paid media? Or if maybe a different way to word that question would be, if you were to give someone a suggestion of like what they should be budgeting to test Facebook and Instagram ads, over 2 months to getting your feet wet and getting started, like where you might set the minimum threshold at.
Tell me if I'm right here, but I'm pretty sure that we can confidently say that you'll know if you have a winning or a losing product within 2 weeks of testing. And then that's when you kind of move on to the second phase, which is, increasing the kinds of ads that Selom was talking about, finding out what performs best. So it's almost kind of tiered. So I think when you first launch your initial ads, you're watching the analytics for about 2 weeks, and you'll have a pretty good idea if you can make some profitable return on it. Selom, is that correct?
Yeah, Oliver's correct. Yeah, the first 2 weeks. So basically a couple $100, but then also depends on how saturated your niche is. So if your niche is super saturated, it's going to obviously take a lot of money. But other than that, what Oliver said is correct.
So Selom, think back to when we were in a competitive market like women's swimsuits. Do you recall about how much we spent?
So I know for the tattoos, it was a couple $100 before we started getting sales. But for the women's swimsuits, it was honestly the same, because when Oliver and I get into a niche, we try to do as much research as possible just to make sure when we start spending money, it's being spent efficiently. So whenever we launch a company together, it's been around a couple $100 before we start getting sales. But for the average person who's new to it, I would say it's about $500 to $1,000.
So you'd say spending $500 to $1,000 on a proof of concept is a realistic budget to have in mind. So people that are out there testing the waters with $50 to $100 are probably not going to get any data worthwhile.
No, probably not, because you have to spend money to make money, and it also depends on how much time you spend into research. I guess people don't want to put too much effort into having a winning, ad set that brings in revenue. So the more research and time you put in, the more patience you have before you spend those initial couple $100 is really, really important towards your success in the future.
So Selom, what kind of research are you referring to?
So I would say research into looking at what kind of ads the competitors are running, looking at what keywords they put into their ads. So looking on YouTube and Google, Googling, okay, how do I run an ad? How do I segment audiences? How do I know which audience is right for me? What audience size is the best audience size to run an ads towards? So questions like that.
It sounds like you guys did a lot of the work yourself at the beginning. How much time do you think you invested in learning these skills yourself? Like, I guess maybe hours a week or a month or whatnot, to be able to have a confidence to jump in and do this?
Yeah. So I think a lot of that we can accredit to all the free resources out there that are up on YouTube and in, various e-commerce Facebook groups. It's a shame there's actually quite a few self-proclaimed e-commerce gurus who offer packages that really are just capitalizing on free information that's already out there. But we probably did, I don't know, I was probably in a Facebook group and reading articles and watching a couple hours of YouTube every day for about 2 to 3 weeks before I felt comfortable jumping in. Selom, would you agree? What was your time frame? You started a little before me.
Yeah, so it was basically, I guess, 1 to 2 weeks of researching the niche. And then I also had a friend who's still, I guess, part of the team now. And I remember when I first got into e-commerce, I would ask him questions every single day, every single hour, every second, because he's been in the field for much longer than I have. So he's kind of my e-commerce mentor. And he's someone that I would say like really, really helped me get, I guess, become more knowledgeable in e-commerce. So I would credit a lot of our success so far to him.
Yeah, another thing to note that Selom and I haven't made the distinction of on this podcast yet. So I'm kind of more operationally focused. Selom is the one who's into the nitty gritty ads. He's kind of like the ad wizard, if you will. And that kind of gets back to your question of like, how do you know when you have a good partner? I know for a fact I don't have the thinking and the learning style to learn ads. I know that's not my strong suit, and I know that's not where my time is best spent. And Selom, I would say that my skill set complements yours, because that is your strength. But so Selom, the research that he's doing is a lot different than the research that I'm doing. So, for example, I am currently researching things like how to get our SPF cleared through the FDA. Whereas Selom is, always trying to get ad spend down and more efficient. So we are, our learning is focused on two different things. So you kind of just need to find a partner that complements it well.
I couldn't agree more. When we first started the agency, we were just tag teaming everything and it was so inefficient. And once we drew like solid lines in the sand, it's like, these are my responsibilities and these are your responsibilities. It changed the business overnight.
Yeah, that organization is really important. If you're not organized, it's going to make everything really difficult for you.
And it's something that you don't realize until you actually look at it. If two people are responsible for one thing, each person is going to think the other person's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, if you're looking to get a partner, I can't agree anymore with you want someone that's the yin to your yang, someone that can do the things that you aren't the best at, someone that complements your strengths and weaknesses. Those are the best types of partners to work with. If you are, if you're starting a brand and both of the founders are amazing theme developers, I don't know if that's going to be a very fruitful partnership, because you're going to have so many of the same shortcomings, and it might not be the best fit. So, and maybe a fair warning to some people out there. This episode is brought to you by Klaviyo. Klaviyo helps brands deliver more personalized digital marketing experiences via email, SMS messages, social ads, and more. And since it's all driven by real-time e-commerce data, you can make sure every interaction feels more relevant. When you have a 360-degree view of the customer, the growth possibilities are endless. Visit Klaviyo.com to schedule a demo. That's KLAVIYO.com. You mentioned e-commerce gurus, and that is actually kind of that was the thought process behind the name of the podcast, Honest E-commerce. I wanted to be honest with everybody about the hard work that goes into building a brand. So let's kind of dive in a bit there and talk about it. There's a lot of scam artists out there, and if it was that easy to build a successful brand, why can't everybody do it? What are your guys' thoughts on kind of those, I kind of say the dark underbelly of the dropship and e-commerce community?
It's a good question. I do think that anybody with an internet connection can get into e-commerce and run a successful brand. I do think that. Whether I think developing the brand from the ground up is everyone's strength, no. And that kind of gets back to earlier what I was saying. Like, you really need to know your strengths and weaknesses. Luckily in high school, I got a small passion for graphic design and got kind of an early introduction into Photoshop. So that kind of just sparked some interest into things like design and good design and what it means to incorporate good design into a brand, and incorporated that into my college minor, which is interactive media studies, kind of focusing on things like digital marketing, graphic design, just really an intro to brand creation, I guess, which is a great program that I was very fortunate enough to choose. But yeah, it's really not as easy as people think, which I think is part of the reason why we chose black as our color palette. Because, when you start complicating all these decisions, you can get into a really, really messy web of a brand that doesn't have a whole lot of unity in its design.
Absolutely. Let's be honest today, all of your customers are going to have questions. And what are you doing to manage all those questions? Do you have a help desk for your business? One of our sponsors of today's episode is Gorgias, and Gorgias is the #1 rated help desk for e-commerce. It integrates seamlessly with Shopify. We have installed it on a bunch of stores. It's also used by brands like Movement and Rockies. And what it does is it takes all of your customer insights and information, brings it into one amazing dashboard so you can solve their problem as quickly as possible. If you want to give Gorgias a try, visit gorgias.link/honest. That's GORGIAS.link/HONEST to get your second month free. Going back to the question with the whole kind of like buy my course and you can, become an internet millionaire. If anyone listening is thinking about doing that, I would highly, highly suggest that you do not do it.
Please don't do that.
Yeah, we're going to save you thousands of dollars here. Almost all of that information, if not all of it, is available, like they said, for free in other places. And some of it is the same stuff of a cheaper course repackaged with another zero on the end. It's a very odd ecosystem. And, I've been running the agency for over 5 years. I have helped brands make millions of dollars. And I'm not exaggerating to make myself sound cool. I'm showing you I know what I'm talking about. And I personally haven't founded a brand that's successful, because finding that winning target audience, finding that winning product is so hard. That's the hardest part about all of this. The rest of it's kind of easy to learn. So I'm just stressing that it takes a lot of work and it takes a little bit of luck, honestly, I'd say.
Correct.
I have so many friends who've kind of seen the success that I'm going to have undergone. And, they've asked me to help them build a website and learn and start with drop shipping. That's a great place to start, by the way. Drop shipping, there's so many advantages to it. One of them being you don't need to worry about inventory, which I cannot understate enough is a huge pain in the ass. So drop shipping is great. So anyway, I'll help these friends build a store. Some of them will get to the point of purchasing a domain. Most of them won't even do that. Really, the first step is jumping in. Like, there's too much thought before actually trying, right? People who reach out and ask for help. I would say maybe 5% of them end up running a Facebook ad. So how can you know? You'll never know if you don't truly start.
The 10 people I've helped, I guess, try to launch a brand, and only 1 or 2 of them have actually gotten to the stage where they launch a Facebook ad, because they don't understand. They think it's going to be a quick buck. Everything's going to happen right away. But it takes a lot of time just to figure out the branding, what you want to name it, the website, figuring out customer service, how you're going to deal with that, and how you're going to communicate to your customers. And those are things that people don't want to put time into it. So once they get to that point and see all of that, then they just give up, which is not the right way to go about it.
Absolutely. It's that 0 to 1. You just got to get started somewhere, and you're going to make a bunch of mistakes, and you're going to learn really fast, and you just got to correct the course and steer the ship and just keep going. Let's pivot back to what's going on at Mad Rabbit now. So you guys you're a couple years in, and you've been running this thing full time. What's the growth looked like? You guys setting any records this year? How's it going now?
Yeah, well, actually, neither of us are currently full time, which is kind of interesting. That is a likely next step for us here soon, especially as we are launching both a sunscreen and a soothing gel here soon. That's going to be definitely taking up more of our time. But yeah, we've been absolutely crushing records. Selom, if you want to just walk them through our accolades this year so far.
So our first year, 2019, we did just over 400K in revenue. And I guess our first 6-figure month was in December. And I guess it was, once we hit that first 6-figure month, we were like, all right, we have to make sure we're still profitable, but then hit the 6-figure month consistently. And then so far this year, we've done $1 million alone just this year. And then this month is going to be our biggest month by far. So like one thing that I guess we're still making sure that we're still running profitable ads. And if not, making sure it's better, the efficiency is better than the last month. But those are the records we've broken so far.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to quite a few things. First being, we started off only on Facebook and Instagram ads. This year, we've expanded onto Pinterest. We've been investing thousands of dollars in awesome content. We have a great photographer, videographer, and editor out in Los Angeles. Shout out to Garen, who has been a godsend in terms of kind of helping us find our brand vibe on Instagram. And then we've launched on TikTok as well, which has been definitely more experimental, but is paying early returns for sure.
That you guys answered the next question I had. I was like, are you still, is all your eggs in one basket, or have you now started to diversify it after finding that winning channel? So now you're moving into a few different paid channels. What about owned media? Are you guys trying anything with SMS or email? How's that work?
Yeah. So our email list is currently sitting at a little over 100,000 people. Email marketing, I try my best to send an email once every single week. So it's on Thursday or Friday when people get their paycheck, so that way they can, I guess, go to our website and end up purchasing products. So we do a lot of email marketing. We do a lot of email retargeting. So basically email is going to people who abandoned cart, people who have viewed the item, or people who visited the website. They get emails. We also have emails to customers who purchased recently to go make a YouTube video for a reward. We have emails going to customers to leave a review on the website. And then we also do SMS, where when people, abandon a cart, they get a text an hour later from an actual human being saying, hey, we saw that you forgot to complete your checkout. Here's a discount code if you want to go finish buying your product. That's been working really well. So we've expanded the mediums that we use to reach our customers and bring in revenue. So that's good.
That's awesome. Now, before we go, is there anything that I forgot to ask you guys that you think would be worthwhile to share with the audience?
Yeah, I think there's kind of one more key part of our winning formula here. And Selom kind of touched on it at the end. And it's fostering a community of excited customers who want to share their story, right? And tattoos are kind of a great example of that. People who have tattoos are just a lot more likely to want to talk about them because, they want to show them off. They're cool. So what we've done through things such as, marketing inserts saying, hey, post us on your story with your balm and we'll feature you. That's an early way we started building our community. Like Selom said, then people talking about their tattoos on YouTube. We do tattoo tours on TikTok, things like that. Just really kind of making people feel good about their tattoos is a huge core part of our organic growth. And we're also kind of going along with that, trying to become the leading educator on tattoo care. So kind of what we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, where tattoo aftercare recommendations are currently really up to artists who have, I'm not knocking artists. We love them, of course, but, they don't have medical backgrounds. They haven't put the research into formulations that we have. And, we want to become the leading educator on how to best preserve the awesome art that they do. So really the commitment to building that community is so important to the organic growth.
That's awesome. Now, if people are curious about the product, where should they go?
Yep. You can find us at madrabbittattoo.com. Our Instagram is shopmadrabbit, and Selom, our Pinterest and TikToks are madrabbit tattoo.
Correct.
Awesome. I can't thank you guys enough for coming on the show.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us. This was a blast.
Absolutely. I cannot thank our guests enough for coming on the show and sharing their journey and knowledge with us today. We've got a lot to think about and potentially add into our businesses. Links and more information will be available in the show notes as well. If anything in this podcast resonated with you and your business, feel free to reach out and learn more at electriceye.io/connect. Also, make sure you subscribe and leave an amazing review. Thank you.